battle rages all around the square, but the main focus is on the rooftop of a building overlooking the square. Specifically, two figures staring down at each other with glares that could kill, and the tension being so thin it could be cut with a knife. The two figures, whom once fought beside each other and laughed together, now face each other in a duel that has been coming since the betrayal of one of them. Hades, the betrayer, and his younger brother Lucifer stare in silence until Hades breaks it by speaking.
It has been a long time, my brother.
So it has.
It did not have to be this way, you know. You can still join me and end Thanos' weakened rule, and establish dynasty for the ages with our people on top.
During the time Hades was talking, he walked slowly towards Lucifer before stopping just 7 feet from him. You truly have gone insane to think I will join you after what you've done, and what you've helped do tonight.
This
Hades gestures to the battle below them with a dark grin.
is merely the beginning. After tonight, the world will be a very different place. And there will be nothing to stop my plans.
Hades then lowers his arm and continues to smirk as he watches Lucifer grip his sword handle tightly. Why do this? Hades looks surprised at Lucifer's words, but quickly recovers and speaks with a tone that threatens violence, as if remembering a painful memory.
You know why? Or did our beloved father not tell you?
Lucifer looks down, closing his eyes, and speaks. You told me well enough, and I understand why you had to kill my mother and grandfather. But why Summer? Lucifer raised his head and opened his eyes at the end, but his stare contains pity towards his fallen sibling. Hades wears his smirk again and walks to the edge of the roof, all while Lucifer watches him with caution and his hand on his sword and its scabbard, ready to unsheath the blade in an instant.
Did you forget how we captured Wendigo? We butchered his brood. And you and our sister murdered his mate, Medusa.
Hades looks back at his brother's face to find he is surprised, but he recovers and speaks through clenched teeth. But I was the one who landed the killing blow, not Summer! Hades simply scoffs at Lucifer's answer and looks back at the battle below, with his hands clasped behind his back.
It matters little to Wendigo.
Lucifer looked at Hades with confusion, then realizes what his brother is talking about. You lied to him, didn't you? Hades looks back at his sibling and claps his hands as he walks back to the place in front of Lucifer.
Yes, dear little brother of mine. I told Wendigo that it was Summer who landed the killing blow, and that you merely bloodied the she-beast.
Lucifer stares at Hades with a look of shock and then anger. Anger for the lie that led to his sister dying in his arms after being butchered by Wendigo. Unknown to Hades and Lucifer, the beforehand mentioned monster was listening from below the rooftop and was seething in rage after being deceived into believing that he had avenged his mate. Why her? She stood by you and would have spoken for you before the council. Lucifer said in hopes of reaching the answer to Hades' reason for indirectly killing their sister.
Yes, she would have saved me from the justice of those old fools on the council. But I would have been exiled, instead forced to live among the weaklings and inferiors.
Hades retorted with fire and gestured with anger towards the people dying as they fought the monsters besieging their city. Lucifer merely looked at Hades, who mixed between remorse and anger. She loved you, and you betrayed her, and you betrayed us all, sacrificed the love you had on the altar of your own ego and spite. And for what, brother? Hades looked at his brother with surprise, not expecting him to be this furious at his actions, believing in vain that he could convince his brother that he was doing this for the betterment of their people. Lucifer continued his rant as he approached his brother, who unconsciously walked backwards in fear of the pure wrath flowing off his brother, as his eyes changed from their normal storm grey hue to bright purple, a stare that would send even the bravest warrior, almost bloodthirsty beast, running for a safe place to cower and pray that it never found them. For power? For the chance at ruling the world from atop the bones and ashes of the innocent? Or was it because you couldn't bear the fact that instead of being a full, pure-blooded hex, You are actually a half-vox bastard, born of rape! Lucifer declares, his voice raising in volume as he goes on, until he bellows out the last part. Hades lets out a yell of anger and unsheaths his sword, Soul Taker, and swings it at Lucifer, who catches the blade by unsheathing his own sword, Lone Star, and engages with a sword lock with Hades, who presses his sword hard against Lucifer's sword as he does the same. Whoever dies tonight, brother, you will be among them, and so will be your monster. Hades presses harder back and speaks with a small smile on his face while Lucifer grunts an effort to push him back.
I won't die this night, brother. I still have so much left to do in this life.
Lucifer struggles to push Hades back, and Hades chuckles at his brother's attempts to beat him.
You still have much to learn before you can beat me, boy.
Lucifer then focuses and with a powerful shove presses hard against the lock. Hades is shocked and surprised by the strength in the push. I'm not the boy you once knew, nor am I the weak kid you spared that night all those years ago, Lucifer says, and proceeds to shove his brother back, hard enough that the lock breaks, and Hades stumbles before quickly regaining his footing. My training in exile has made me stronger and more powerful. Unlike you, I will use these skills to protect the innocent and my family, not sacrifice it all for lustful greed. Lucifer points his sword as he speaks, and after speaking, charges forth to take Hades' head. And before he can, he hears a beast-like roar and dodges out the way of the blade meant to impale him. The figure lands near the double-bladed staff and pulls it out of the ground and growls at Lucifer, who quickly gets into a battle stance. Hades looks at the figure and gains a mocking smile.
About time you stepped in. I was beginning to think I was going to find my little brother alone. Wendigo.
Wendigo rolls his shoulders and looks back at Hades and growls slowly before looking back at Lucifer and focuses his eyes like a predator eyeing his prey. Hades walks forward with an arrogant swagger and stops next to Wendigo and speaks with a confident smirk.
Tell me, brother, do you have enough strength and skill to fight us both?
Hades laughs at the end, but Lucifer remains undeterred, actually wearing a calm look that is similar to a villain who has seen his plans fall into place. Hades and Wendigo see this look and become slightly unnerved by the warrior in front of them. Am I strong enough? Brother, you just gave me the greatest gift of all. A chance to kill the murderer of my sister and the traitor who betrayed my family and people. Lucifer speaks with a cold, joyful voice, then lets out a yell as he charges at both his opponents. Hades and Wendigo let out their own roars and charge forth. The sounds of battle and clanging steel are heard all around the rooftop as three figures fight each other in a 3-on-1 duel to the death. Hades parries Lucifer's fast slashes and powerful strikes, but is finding it hard to keep up. Lucifer sees his brother's defenses breaking and presses on and lands a slash across Hades' leg just below the knee and drives his elbow into Hades' chest. He bellows in pain as he falls onto his back. Before Lucifer can land the killing blow, Wendigo roars and swings his blade staff in a wide arc that is too powerful for Lucifer to block effectively. The blow throws him back 10 feet, nearly off the rooftop. He sticks his landing just 3 feet from the edge. Wendigo turns to Hades and snarls out, "Stay down and let me deal with the whelp, or will you stop me from taking my revenge again?" Hades glares at Wendigo and gets up, staring daggers at his second in command before speaking in a commanding tone.
Do not forget who got you out of your prison, beast. And my brother is mine alone.
"Hey, assholes!" Lucifer bellows out, getting both warriors' attention. "Are we gonna finish this fight, or are you two gonna bicker like an old married couple?" Lucifer smiles as he talks and unsheathes his second blade, wailing wind from its scabbard, and raises it along with Lone Star in a new battle stance, waiting for Wendigo and Hades to face him. Hades and Wendigo get into their stances, with Hades in front crouching. Hades then turns to Wendigo and nods, as if to tell him to move forward first, which he does, roaring out a battle cry akin to a beast. Hades soon follows, and Lucifer also charges forth, dodging Wendigo's swing, whilst also slicing his stomach, earning a roar of pain from the giant monster. He continues on to clash blades with Hades. Both go too fast and bounce off each other at their swords lock, turning 180 in the lock. Hades then unsheathes his second sword, Swift Judgment, and points it at Lucifer. "Getting old, brother? Or has the years not been kind to your skills, allowing them to rust?" Hades is about to retort before he hears a blade flying towards his head from behind him. Hades ducks just in time as Wendigo's staff blade flies towards Lucifer, who counters the blade by slashing it, sending the weapon back to its sender, who catches it midair after vaulting over Hades' crouched form. Wendigo charges forth, bellowing out a fierce roar, intending on finally avenging his mate, Medusa. Lucifer twirls his blades and uses the momentum gained to swing his blade powerfully against Wendigo's staff blades, which he twirled as he ran at Lucifer. The shock and power of both strikes knocks both opponents back, but Wendigo was more affected. Lucifer quickly regains his footing and changes to a different battle stance than before. This time, both blades are crossed, with his arms in line with the lower part of his chest. Hades joins Wendigo as he recovers from the shock of the blades striking each other.
It appears my brother is full of surprises. I didn't think he could knock you back.
Hades speaks with some surprise and sarcasm when talking about Wendigo's inability to beat Lucifer. Wendigo snarls out a response.
Watch what you say. The runt has gotten lucky to make it this far.
Wendigo then gains a smirk as an idea comes to his mind regarding how to make Lucifer lash out and expose himself to a death blow.
Unlike his weak sister, who only lasted a little while, and that was because I like to play with my prey before taking my time in killing it.
Wendigo turns to Lucifer and speaks of how he killed Lucifer's sister. At this, Lucifer gains a rage-filled expression and glares daggers at Wendigo.
It was cute how she defended herself, and she actually believed that she could kill me. Up until the moment I drove my blade through her heart.
Wendigo spoke and licked his lips at the memory as if remembering a fond meal. Lucifer exploded with anger and charged forward, but it was almost too fast for Wendigo and Hades to raise their blades in time to block the slashes meant to take off their heads. This move surprised both warriors, who barely kept the blades from severing their necks. Hades and Wendigo both pushed hard against the blade lock, but Lucifer keeps the pressure on the two fighters while gritting his teeth and growling out like an enraged beast.
Such fire! Where was it when your sister needed it? You know, she begged me to kill her quick, but I didn't, and she called out for you to save her. But you weren't there.
Wendigo continues to taunt the young warrior, laughing darkly as he recounts Summer's last moments and tries to dislodge his blade from the lock, as well as Hades, who is struggling more with his sword lock than Wendigo.
I may not have been able to save Summer, but I will stop you both and all your allies. And if I must drown in the bloodbath to save my family and people, then so be it.
With that, Lucifer lets out a yell of effort and rage and pushes back both Wendigo and Hades and out the sword's lock, which also throws Wendigo's staff blade out of his hand and impales itself on the ground behind him. But before either of them can recover, Lucifer slices them both multiple times across their chests and bodies, making them crumble to the ground wounded and bloodied. Wendigo lies on the ground, broken and beaten, and lets out a tired and ragged breath while also coughing up his blood. Hades is on his knees with swift judgment on the ground behind him, after it was thrown from his hand when Lucifer broke the sword lock. Hades clutches the handle of Soul Taker as if it is a lifeline, and looks in time to see Lucifer walking towards him. Hades then attempts to swing his sword at Lucifer, who merely swats it out of Hades' hand and kicks him to the ground, Lucifer pointing Lone Star at Hades' neck.
Any last words, brother?
Lucifer spat out the last word in anger, realizing that he has at long last beaten Hades and will avenge all those killed in his mad quest for power. Hades looks up at his brother with shock and awe at how powerful he has become, and then does the unexpected, congratulates his brother.
Well done, little brother. It seems I was wrong about you being weak, and now you may have your prize. My life.
Lucifer looked down at his defeated brother with confusion at what he was saying.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the power you're feeling right now. The rage and the wrath. Tell me, how does it feel?
Lucifer can't deny what he's feeling. Among the other emotions that he feels right now, anger and hate are the most prominent, but also a sense of euphoria, and it scared him, but he did not show it. Hades sees the expression on Lucifer's face and broke his train of thought by speaking.
Do it. Is this not what you wanted? Or I'm not the stomach for it after all?
Lucifer was about to retort, but stopped when he felt a phantom pain in his chest. He immediately knew what it was and looked with a face filled with dread and horror at the tower near the far side of the courtyard below. Now with the top part shattered from a giant explosion, Lucifer uttered a whisper heard by Hades, who also looked up at the tower with a triumphant smile on his face.
Father, no.
Hades picked himself up while letting out a dark cackle. Lucifer fell to his knees, dropping his swords, while ignoring his brother and everything else, focusing on the tower, with a sorrow that covered his very being. Hades retrieved his swords and saw Wendigo slowly getting up from his injuries, which were far more severe than Hades.
Looks like I won't fall tonight after all, little brother.
I get to kill him. I deserve that right.
Wendigo snarled out, while Hades looked at him and was about to reprimand him, but was stopped by a flash of white light coming from the tower. Hades and Wendigo had different reactions to it. Wendigo started walking backwards, away from the light in fear, as if it was the flames of hell coming for him, and he even gained a look of fearful horror. And then he ran and jumped off the rooftop to get away from the light. While Hades' reaction was that of disbelief and whispered out a word that only he and Lucifer could hear.
Can't be! It's not possible!
Hades growled out the last word and saw Lucifer looking at the tower in the same disbelief as him, but his reaction reinvigorated him to get up and pick up his swords that he dropped after falling to his knees. Without turning around, he spoke.
I will let you live tonight, brother, but make no mistake, you will die. But not before you tell your allies that my niece has discovered her power, the power of her mother. And I will help her to learn it, so that she can use it to destroy them. But you and Wendigo are mine.
Lucifer then turns around and looks dead center at Hades and speaks again.
So run, for as long as you can, brother. Because the next time we meet, I will kill you, and no one will stop me from doing so.
Hades looked at Lucifer and then back at the tower, where the light had died out, and then back at his brother, and with a regal calm, gave his response to his brother's threats.
We shall see, my brother.
With that, Hades ran and jumped off the rooftop and disappeared into the darkness. Lucifer then sheathed his blades and leapt off the rooftop, landing gracefully to the ground and ran in the direction of the tower, all while praying that his niece was alright.